little thing that I wrote for the webinar. So
Hi, Eileen.
I probably already read it, but.
Hello from Vancouver. Hello, Eileen.
Oh, nice. Hi, Eileen. Awesome. Good to see you. All right. I said, join us for a casual conversation with Leigh. Her many years of experience in skating at every level give her a unique perspective on our sport and on our situation as we all pause to reflect. Michelle has long been an athlete advocate, and I said that really on purpose. You have always shown up for athletes, doing whatever it takes to support athletes she works with in all capacities. So we are very, very grateful that Michelle is taking some time this Wednesday to speak with us and share her view of what constitutes skating success. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
All right. So first, I want to say, what was your introduction to coaching? Because being a skater and then moving into coaching, I mean, that's a decision, right? Because many skaters decide, all right, if I'm not the performer here, I'm done, right? How did you decide that you wanted to keep going and contributing to the sport?
Well, I began coaching after I ruptured my Achilles when I was 16. So I was pretty young to finish my career. I had, you know, all kinds of competitive aspirations, and it was the end of the world for me. And then I went to Sick Kids to have recovery or to have surgery on my Achilles, and I went, oh my gosh, lots of perspective here. So it was really good for me to, you know, see a bigger picture, because, you know, as an athlete, it's all about you. And then I was in there and I went, wow, like there's some really sick people in the world. So I got over myself very quickly. I was pretty good at school, so I got a bunch of scholarships and went to U of T for a bit, but started coaching right away because where I skated, there was kind of a need. Lots of people wanted extra lessons. So I started coaching right away in Aurelia while I was going to school. And then it kind of just took over. You know, I was at school and I went, I don't really think this is for me. So yeah, fairly lucky, I guess. Unlucky, lucky.
Well, I just want to like right in here. I think just as a former student of yours and starting off, we are very lucky, okay, that you did decide to do that. Michelle, if we're just going to start this off right now, we're at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Welcome to everybody coming in, and we see we're getting our participant numbers climbing. Michelle, I just want to start off with saying that you mean a lot to me. You mean a lot to what you've given as a professional, what you've given to the sport. You're someone that, as a coach now, I'm going to be turning 41 on Sunday. Yikes. But I'm just saying that you're someone that, you know, as a coach, I'd be say on the ice in the lesson, what would Michelle Leigh do in this situation? You're someone that's made such a huge impact on my own personal skating, but also as a coach. And as a great athlete manager that you were, I learned so much how you did that as the skater, and also now as the coach. You go, yeah, Michelle was right when she did that. You know, so I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for coming on. And you know, it's just great that you're taking the time to share your wisdom experience as we are in this really interesting kind of making it as a time that we're doing. And just want to say a huge shout out. And by the way, another thing. There's not too many people that you travel around the world in 14 days with, and Michelle and I have done it. So you know, we have some really great.
We went around the world.
Around the world in 14 days, and you know, we just have some really great memories. And I just want to thank you for coming on this morning. So,
thank you for having me, and thank you for those kind words. It's really nice of you to say that.
I love it.
My pleasure.
He's being honest, because there's been many times where you voice that out loud, like, you know, I'm so glad Michelle taught me this. Or when I was a skater, I kind of took this for granted that she was doing this. And now I see how much work it was on the other side. So speaking of that, when you two met, now Michelle, you get to say exactly whatever you were thinking at the time. What was your impression of Ben at the beginning?
Maybe I'll leave right now.
How did he fit into your work? I think you were coaching him for about 4.5 years. So it's a pretty big chunk of time.
My favorite is to coach people who want to be coached and who are willing to do anything, and that was Ben. So that's probably why we had such a good relationship, because if a skater isn't willing to be coached, it's so hard. it's so hard on a coach. And Ben was always willing, always trying. I loved how focused you were and how hard working you were and how driven you were. And it was like you were a dream.
Okay, that's it. Seminar over. Great job.
No, but I mean, and this is where it comes back to a lot of things that, again, you had the impact on me. It was funny, you know, Jadene was talking about the Axel webinar I did yesterday. So just so everybody knows, the footage of, if I'm maybe showing a triple axel on mine or a jump of mine, this is all due to Michelle Leigh. She had all the cameras out all the time. I would review tons of footage off, and it's all due to your code and you having that camera on the whole time. So I want to give a huge shout out for the way that you did that. I mean, you know, seeing 20 years later to be able to review all that stuff and to show kids, okay, this is how I felt it, this is what I did. This is all due to you. So, you know, I'm just a huge shout out to that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, cool.
It's very cool to have footage of that stuff. And I think that, you know, bringing up video and bringing up analysis, I think that, Michelle, you've been pioneering that throughout your coaching career and relying on the science and always making yourself better. I wanted to ask you next about your coaching philosophy, and I'm pretty sure it's going to have something to do with that, sort of the personal development and professional development that you do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just as far as videoing goes, it just makes coaching so much easier. Like if someone says, you know, like, what about this part of my jump, or what about this part of my jump? And then you just show them and they go, what? Like, I'm doing that? It's just, you know, it's such a different thing from the person doing it to what's actually happening sometimes. So it just simplifies everything. So it's been a great tool, and it's so great. There's most coaches use it now, I hope, but it is great to have footage. And that's how I learned mainly about technique. I would say it's just like, you know, studying videos of Ben and studying of Elvis and Brian Orser, or whoever I could, you know, video. That's how you learn. You went, wow, look at that. Look what they're doing. And then you look at someone else, go, they're doing it too. You know, so it was kind of like a discovery through that. But I hope that I'm true to my philosophy. I just think that working hard is the key to success. And I've always felt that, whether it was in school, I just felt like, you know, I am staying up all night if I have to get this right, and to never give up, and to always treat each athlete individually. I think that's a big part of coaching, because you can't teach each person the same. They're all different, so you're not going to get through to them, and you're not going to do a good job coaching if you don't teach them individually and find what makes them tick. So I think it's just working hard and respecting everyone and treating each person, you know, as an individual, and finding out what makes them tick.
I love that, 100%. Then is that something that resonated for you as the athlete when you worked with Michelle as well?
Well, and you know, that's a really good point Michelle makes about them, especially about the video. And you know, I think, you know, Michelle and I, we really jived on that, because I really learned a lot when I moved to Barrie and working with Doug and you, especially, you know, looking at it, understanding it, feeling it. I mean, I knew I was visual from back in the day, reviewing a lot of VHS, looking at, say, Brian Orser or Elvis or Kurt or things like that. So I knew that, but then to have it in the lesson and be able to see, okay, I understand that, and feel it, and go through that whole process was such a huge deal. It was, especially at the time that it was in my career, maybe a little bit later on, such a huge deal to just refine what we already had, but also make it just that little bit better, more reliable, which was awesome. And then, you know, being at the stage that we were, it was a fun time because it was the Darkfish time, right? It was kind of that, you remember the On the Podium, get the software, we were figuring out how to use it.
Yeah, you were there.
You know, remember that? It was awesome, right? Cam came to Barrie.
That was in Torino, right?
It was at that time, right? Where really we're starting to kind of become the next thing and go, and I know you grabbed a hold of it, I grabbed a hold of it. We really wanted to take it and go, okay, this is where we see the next stage of it, and make things better, and have that in the action, speed up the lesson a little bit more, and do it better with comparables. And that's where that was a lot of fun. That was a really cool time to be a part of that learning curve. And it was great to be a part of it too. It was neat.
Okay,
yeah, we were a little bit lucky when we were there, because there was only, I think, 4 or 5 coaches in Canada that were you know, given this software. And that was lucky because it wasn't cheap. So you know, we were given it, and then they had a dartfish, that lady Kristen or something. Anyway, she was there and like showed how to work it. And yeah, I mean, you caught on to the technology a lot faster than me, because I'm like, what's this? What's this? But I knew like the value of it for sure. But wow, I forgot about that. Thanks for the reminder.
You guys,
it's amazing.
I have to share my screen quickly. If you didn't see this photo.
That's a good one. Hey, Michelle.
That's what Ben posted last night, saying it would be a super fun reunion with you today.
Oh, I really like that picture.
That guy needs a haircut. Holy cow. Yeah. But,
so good. Ben, I don't know how you found it, but
yeah. You know what? It's amazing what I find on my camera roll. I think I don't know where I got that one from, but you know what? It was a lot of fun. But you know, hey, you know, this is great. We've got a question that just popped in the box here, and this is from Deb. Thank you for sending this, and this is a great question. And it's kind of 2 in 1, Michelle. Maybe you can kind of run with this one here too. It says, do you feel you're still evolving as a coach, or was there a golden moment of evolution for you in your career so far? So why don't you want to take that one and it's a good question.
Yeah.
Great question.
I hope I am. I try to. I try to listen more than I talk for the most part, and just try to hear as much as I can, and absorb as much as I can, and watch as much as I can, and video as much as I can. And you know, most people like know me like around the world. When I'm at a competition, I'm like videoing all the other kids. I'm like a super spy, and sometimes I get dirty looks and sometimes I don't. And but you know, I figure it's worth it. I do it for the skaters. I do it, you know, to help them. So I hope, and I'm always bribing my kids, and especially even this morning, I'm like, okay, all you spies who can post, you know, a clip of the Russians in their home workout, just, you know, post it. Cause like I'm watching them, but I was like, I don't know how to get it from that chat to this chat. And I'm like, okay, who can help out? But it's the, you know, I think I'm not sure what you meant by golden moment. Anyway, like my favorite thing as a coach, but I feel like I hope now as a coach, I'm really helping empower even more people to go like, look, I know what I want, but can you guys help me? You know, can you help me with this technology? Can you, you know, share this so everybody benefits? And you know, I hope that's, at first when you coach, it's all about like your career. I want to be such a good coach. I want to be the best coach. I want to go to the Olympics. And I want to do all this. And then after, you know, you achieve some of those things, okay, now what? Like, can I help some more people? Can I, you know, that's more fun to me now. Maybe, you know, as you get older, I guess you look at those things and hope that your legacy is like helping as many people as possible. I couldn't possibly pick a favorite moment in my career so far. I don't think I could do that. So I know what I can answer in this question. So
so smart.
And there's so many great moments, Michelle. I mean, you know, so many. So anyway.
Something you brought up that's so valuable here is that, you know, what is next after that you've achieved, let's say the Olympics as a coach, or maybe another goal. I think it's really inspiring to see that you actually still care to keep giving and stretching yourself. I think it's really valuable to just pause there and say, you know, perhaps after becoming an Olympic coach or first worlds or something that was a big goal, did you come down and have to come back up, or did you have to reevaluate how to fold that into your identity at all?
I don't think so. It just made me like hungry for more. I like this. I like being here. This is what I want to do. And then you just like, what's next step? What's next? What's next? What's next? Like, that's kind of always in my mind. What's next? What's, you know, and I'm like telling the skaters all the time, like, stop looking behind you. Like, just because that solo was crap. Am I allowed to swear?
Oh, sure.
Free reign. I haven't yet.
I'll stick to crap. If this, you know, just because that was crap, it's going to make it better tomorrow. It's about tomorrow. It's about the next jump. Like, you know, you just learned that doesn't work. So it's like next thing. So, you know, I just try to learn my lessons as quick as I can for any mistakes that I've made, and then move on as quickly as I can.
I love that. I think it actually goes right into the next thing I was going to ask about adversity. So the way I kind of wrote this down, and you can play with it however you want, however it makes sense, but I wrote, when adversity hits, which it does clearly, how do you handle it and how do you work with your skaters through it?
Personal adversity, skater adversity. I would say just to keep it simple is that you're like always trying to find the next strategy. Like try to put something concrete down. Like, okay, this is what we're going to do now. You know, quickly try to summarize what went wrong or what's going on, and then make a plan. And I think having a plan or having the next steps is kind of the best way to like put it behind you. Like at least you're moving forward. You're moving. If you like sit, then it probably the adversity becomes like a little harder for sure.
So I'm hearing in a way that you take the adversity, acknowledge it, and then use the momentum forward into the next plan.
Yes, try to create some kind of momentum that, you know, the next step and what's next. And yeah.
Okay, I have to interject with a little story. I literally remember picking you guys up at the airport, I'm sure after the 14-hour or 14-day around the world journey, right? And it's like, I'm sure the middle of the night, because I remember it pitch black out, and we're driving up the 400 and you guys are like, I'm sure exhausted, time zone, all that stuff. And I'm going, how's Ben doing? And he, he's just out, and then I'm like in the back seat. I'm like, Michelle, what do you, and you were already strategizing for what was next. I could just tell from what you were speaking about. You were already taking what you'd learned on the road, what you guys had experienced in the competition. And you were literally thinking, okay, then tomorrow we'll do this and we'll organize this. And so you're right. I think it's powerful.
Yeah. I think you always have to be like thinking ahead, if so that you don't get like stuck in anything. So just what's next, and just so all the people know that we actually did go around the world. It's my only time ever that I went around the world. We went to Russia first.
Yeah.
Right. So so therefore you fly to Russia over the Atlantic, and then our next competition the next week was in Japan. So we went from Russia right to Japan, and then we flew back through Vancouver. So we actually circled the world. It's my only time that I actually went around the world. So thanks for that journey around the world, Ben.
That was a wild 2 weeks. You're kind of waking up in Japan and you're still on Russia time, and you're like, whoa, and then you got to go to a practice. But if you're in 20s, you just do it, right? Like you just, just do it. And that was a lot of fun. But,
you were in your 20s.
Totally. But and for everyone here who's on the chat as well, we just got a couple more questions coming in. But for those who maybe do not know, Michelle currently is the competitive director for Skate Oakville. Is that correct? You're the
yes.
Yes. So, and I always want to dovetail the conversation to where we are currently. I mean, you talk about where everything's going, right? And you are always so good at that. But right now we're in a situation where it's kind of like pause. Got it. Where are we going? We don't really know for the next little while, right?
No.
And so what we wanted to do with some of these webinars that we're doing with such great people such as yourself is kind of go, what are you currently doing through this kind of stage of transition? And one of the questions that we actually got was from Lindsay. It says, how do we keep the kids motivated while we're off the ice and also support them through their other commitments, i.e. online school, and just stress in general over the situation? So that's one of the questions that popped in the box. Michelle, I'll let you run with that one maybe.
Well, unprecedented times for sure. Never been here. The competitive director in Oakville, there's a lot of skaters and coaches involved in that program. And we have a great executive director, Joni McPhail. So she's, she's quite good at, if you have ideas, she's really great at making them happen. And she has lots of great ideas too. So, first thing that I started off, I wanted to like touch base with my skaters, because kind of like, okay, we heard of ice here and we heard of ice there. And then, we're kind of like, okay, let's scramble. And then that was shut down. And then, so now you got kind of a chat going, like just on WhatsApp of competitive kids that are, what are you doing? And then you're like, okay, like, it looks like it's going to be another week. So you start, thinking of things that you would like to get done in a week. Everybody, like take a rest, take a second and sleep in a little. and, you know, do all those things and let your body recover if it, you know, because we were starting to ramp up. So recover if you need it. And then as usual, I start bribing people. That's usually my, my go-to coaching philosophy. So we're having like little competitions of how many double axels in a row can you do, and, you know, those kinds of things. So you got a week to do that. And then people, you know, I'm like kind of showing what I'm doing with my workouts just to try to shame people into doing something. Shaming, bribing. Yeah, I might run out of strategies soon, but you know, just hopefully any way to inspire people at all to get, you know, to get doing something. And like, as I mentioned, I like just this morning I put it out to the group that's on that you know, whoever can do this technology. I mean, the Russians post lots of off-ice workouts, the Russian kids, because they're in isolation too, I think, at least looks like from their videos. But they're posting stuff. So I think it's, you know, I'm curious about what the Russians are doing. So I'm thinking our skaters and coaches would be too. So let's post that. And oh my gosh, you know, like we do that exercise. So maybe I'll take it a little more seriously, you know, just kind of inspiring them from what the best in the world are doing. I consider them the best in the world right now at most things in skating. So hopefully that's inspiring. And we also had our club is having like 30-minute little guest spots with you know, a coach doing off-ice jumps, so that you can actually join in real time, and it kind of makes you accountable. Like, okay, at 10 o'clock, like I got something to do here, and you know, 3 o'clock this is going on. And you know, skating's a lonely sport, but you know, when you're at the rink, at least there's a little bit of team, like your friends and your like the people that you skate with. So you kind of get to join a little bit of that if you know, if that's what you like. And a lot of people, that's their favorite part of it, so they get to join on Zoom, you know. So just trying out a few things, and I'm open for any suggestions for more bribes. I actually yesterday, someone from the Olympic wrestling team posted something that they, like some drawing that they put on their wall, and how they keep them inspired. So I was like, okay, everybody get your crayons out. So it's kind of like looking around and looking for ideas, how to things that we can also try, because again, just trying to learn from, you know, what are the Russians doing and what are the boxers doing, and just searching, because you can't, it's hard to do it all yourself. You do have to reach out and check out what other people are doing.
I love when you're bringing up that it doesn't have to be from skating. You can get inspired from other sports and other avenues. Yeah. It's like the online community is wide open game. That's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ben, is there another question you wanted to?
You know, yeah, we starting to get some ones fired in here, which is great. And this one's just from an honest someone watching. It says, you know, what's the most significant piece of advice for your students? So, shall we run with that one?
Well, as I mentioned, I like to treat them all individually, so that would definitely depend on the person. Would you say they meant like as they're training, or is they're off, or is there about?
It was just rather open-ended, I think, but and that's what I was wondering, you know, if it's applicable to now, just in general. But there's no one better to answer that question than Michelle Leigh. I'm going to tell you that. It's very, very good. Yeah.
Well, I'm the kind of person that, like, I want to know like a little bit more before I give some advice to someone. So like, for example, there'll be some people who are like just want to be by themselves and work out by themselves and get their thing done, and they have their inspiration and they're self-driven, and you know, so like to those people, then your piece of advice would be different than, you know, somebody that's like, you know, I like staying in bed all day. So yeah, to pass out advice, I think I don't know, you just try to think of the buttons for the person, and it's so different from each person. Nadia Comaneci's coach Bella, what's his name, Bella Crowley. One thing that really like stuck with me was one time he said, you know, you have to know the person. He said, you know, I have one athlete, you know, running down to the vault, and he would say, oh, did you get a new costume? Oh, that's so nice, go. And the next person was like, look at that band, and you get down there and you attack that thing and you just give it everything you've got and you worked hard and you're ready for this. And yeah, like some people need different kind of advice. So it's a tough one to answer without being a little bit more specific. So I just kind of gave you some examples of, you know, where I might go with that. But yeah,
I think that's the perfect answer though, because
I think it was beautiful. Yeah.
You're seeing, and I think this is really important for coaches right now, is there is not a blanket response. There's not a perfect, let's do this for everyone. And you know what? We've been thinking, Ben and I, to chunk it down just like a training week. Your training week 3 weeks from competition is different than 2 weeks from competition. You know, it's okay to think about, okay, this week, this is what we're focused on. These are the different athletes, right? And to your point, they're different individually. So they may need different touch points or different feedback, or even to be left alone for a bit as well to sort of process, right?
Yeah, it's hard. And the time, not knowing the time makes it really tricky. So yeah, you can do the weekly thing and then you're like, okay, it looks like it's going to be another month or 2 months, or yeah. So right now I think we're all in the same boat of we don't know how long it's going to last, and you know, just kind of leaning on each other. What are you doing? And yeah, just looking for inspiration anywhere. Lucky we have the internet. Oh, can you imagine doing this in the long time ago? Like, wow, have to call up everybody.
Yeah, people would be like on the phone 24/7 if it was like.
Yeah, we're very lucky that we have the technology that we do.
Absolutely. So Ben, how are we doing with questions? Do you think?
You know, we're doing great. We got just a couple more come in here, and actually maybe this, Michelle, I think this would be a good one. And this is from Jessica Sawkins Crawford, and Jessica's awesome. She was able to mentor her through her level 1 a few years ago. So, but anyways, the question for Michelle. And she is, we agree, Jessica, she's an amazing coach. You're absolutely right when you say this, but for many years, this is one of my favorite coaches when I was a skater. What would be the most important thing you would want to pass on to us new coaches? Great question.
Hi, Jess. I know exactly who you are. Most important thing to new coaches, well, it's a great time to be a new coach, and it's a tough time as well. I shake my head with all of the requirements that the Skate Canada requires of you, but also it's really great that you can learn so quickly from so many other people, from other people's mistakes, and from like their experiences online, and just from watching other coaches. And I think it's really important to try to find someone who you admire and who you want to be like, and then try to like find your own way, but try to learn who you want to be as a coach, and like just try to push yourself in that direction like the best you can, because yeah, it's hard, and you don't want to like do everything on your own. So you can learn from other people's success and other people's failures, and just try to speed up the process of becoming the best coach that you want to be. And I think it's really an advantage to like tag along with really good coaches, because they're usually willing, most of them, to help young people out. And I think it'll wear off on you. It's the little things, you know, that pile up over the years. Like, be on time. Like, if you're on time every time over 10 years, that makes such a difference to your career. If you're 5 minutes late every single day, all the time, over time, it just multiplies so much. It's the little things. Like you say, like one little chocolate bar is not going to kill you. But if you have a chocolate bar with every meal, every day for a long time, it's going to like wear on you. It's the little things that add up. And just keep trying to do the little things right, and you know, it piles up, and you just become better because of all the little things. And you can't take giant steps, but you can learn a lot from studying others.
Wow, thank you for that reminder about the little things. I needed to hear that. I don't know about everybody else. I love that. And I remember watching you. I was a very young accidental coach. We don't have to go into that, but I never thought I'd be coaching. So I ended up in the coaches room with you in Barrie and Mariposa, and watching you show up day in, day out with purpose, with passion, and with poise. I think that no matter what was going on and no matter the time of the season, you were poised about it. I could tell you were showing up on purpose. So I have to pull that little string, what you just mentioned, and say, you said, you know, you're going to start deciding who you want to be as a coach. So I want to know for you, was there a situation or maybe even a moment where you decided what type of coach you wanted to be or how you wanted to show up that purposefully?
It's probably a combination of a lot of coaches. You know, as I said, technically I learned a lot from studying videos, and I would say a technical mentor of mine would be Alexei Mishin from Russia. Yeah, he taught me some principles that I stayed true to and things that I never really thought about before. And then I started looking in and went, now I see that now. You know, he had a really good way of simplifying things, and I learned a lot from him. But as far as my coaching style, it's just from watching a lot of coaches and from, I do like to read. I read a lot, and Ben probably was the one that introduced me to Jim Rohn, and that my partner is a big fan of Napoleon Hill. So there's a lot of people that I read, and I like learning about philosophies, and sometimes it's just the little things, the little inspirational things that you find all over the place. You know, you're at a competition and you watch and you go, you see a style of coaching, you go, that is not me. And you have to catch yourself that you're like not doing that sometimes, you know. And I just, again, you can learn from other people how you want to be and how you don't want to be. So yeah, I think when I started getting out and traveling and being at so many competitions, man, you go to a lot of competitions and you can kind of decide yourself who you want to be as a coach and who you don't want to be as a coach. So yeah, that would be a big list of who I don't want to be as a coach. Wow.
No, but Michelle, that's beautiful. And one of the things I will dovetail into the power of that as now, you know, your former student, but also coach too, because I remember many times, I mean, I go through my kind of emotional piece. If my timing was off, you'd know about it, right? I mean, you're always the one when I get off the ice at maybe a Grand Prix and you say, Benny, you're on camera. Watch what you're saying. Yeah, okay. You know, and so thank you for that, by the way, because it was after we got behind the curtain that I really said it. So
I never say, yeah. You know, good job or anything, like watch your mouth, watch your mouth.
Yeah, Benny, watch your language. Watch it. Like, yes. And then behind the good earful, and I really appreciate you being here to get that. But one of the things that would happen now is I maybe I'm dealing with a skater, and you know I was going through my emotional peaks. But what you would do is really cool. What you would do is stay calm. You wouldn't react. Just be like, okay, let him go through that. A few minutes later, I'd probably be over it. And that was such a huge lesson for me now, where maybe I'm dealing with an athlete. Same thing. Well, Michelle did this. That really worked. Good. Just stay calm. Don't worry about it. She'll be okay. He'll be okay. Whatever. But that was so powerful. And I want you to say, I just want to say that was such a huge inspiration in now passing that on to your coach, that you just kind of go, it's like Jim Rohn, you know, it's like we have those little nuggets in our head, just instantaneously go, okay, Rohn would say this, boom, do this. It's those kind of things that, you know, Michelle has put in here, Jim Rohn's put in here, everyone's, it's so powerful. So I just want to thank you for that piece of inspiration. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no point in talking to an athlete if they're not listening.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to say the right thing at the right time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just you know, and they can only take in so many things. I mean, like you look back on your life and you know, have you people telling you should do this and you should do this and this and this, and you know, I'm like, wait a minute. Just I can handle one thing at a time, maybe two. So when you're, you know, you're at a competition and you're nervous and your tendency would be to just I tell them, like, you want them to do so good, so you're just telling them so many things and you're like, okay, your left arm, and you're like, okay, don't forget to hold your head up and like look at the judges when you can, and like make sure you take your time on your clusters and hold your spins, and you're just the athlete's going, what? Like, I just believe in simple, because maybe because that's the way I take things in, is just like, just tell me one thing and then I'll do that, or tell me two things, but don't tell me like a million things. They can't absorb it. And when a skater comes off the ice, you know, they're probably not listening. They're not going to retain what you say. So what's the point? I mean, pat them on the back, be there for them. You know, that's always a good thing. Please don't dart. If you're not there for them, then I don't think you're going to be respected as their coach for very long, or you shouldn't be. Yeah. You have to be there for them physically, and then just, you know, when the timing's right. And that's the art of coaching, is you got to know when the timing's right to say something that's going to be heard and it's going to make a difference. You know, what's the point of yelling at them when they come off the ice, because they're already feeling bad enough if it wasn't good. So is there any point in making it worse?
Yeah. Wow. You said something really powerful, just that summed that up, that whole idea, which was the art of coaching. And I haven't actually heard anyone say it is an art form, but I agree with you. I think that, you know, like any craft, right, or any art form, you are always developing it and figuring those things out. But over coaching, it's not going to be helpful, right? And I think I'm really glad you said those things out loud, because in this time, I think it would be easy from the powerlessness of being home and not with the athlete to want to over coach them as well. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I learned that lesson really, really early. I think it was a competition I went to in the States, and you're standing at the board, you know, all the coaches are lined up, and it's 6-minute warm up, and you got they're just yelling and this and that and this and that. And I went, okay, so that's what I'm going to do, you know? So, you know, I took that home and I just was like, this is insane. Like, they're not even listening. So I tried it. But yeah, it's, oh, sorry.
No worries.
Sorry.
Probably right now.
Yeah. Sorry, what was your question? Easily distracted.
No worries. No, just the idea of, I like how you said that best over coaching or over yelling or giving too much information is not always the answer. Yeah.
Yeah. The takeaway, you know, even if you asked your athlete at the end of the day, so what did you learn today? Well, it's not going to be much, you know. Just make sure if you find something important and you want them to remember it, like repeat it and put it in a different way, and just keep hammering your point home. There's no point in hammering a million points home, because at the end of the day, the parents will say, how was skating? Fine. What'd you learn? Nothing.
Yeah, so true. Well, we have 60 people that have been with us on this journey so far today. I'm really grateful to everyone who's showed up. Thank you for everything. Let's keep going here. We have, I think, another question that has
we do actually. This one's from a great colleague of ours from Calgary, Michelle Jansen, and this is pretty good. It says, can you speak about the opportunity to use this downtime for off-ice supplements and choreography planning, ? So maybe that would be something to just address, because I agree. You know, now it's one of the things where we have a little bit of time to get creative and do other things that we normally wouldn't, such as a webinar.
Yeah, who'd have thought on a day is it Wednesday? Great. Yeah, for sure. Like, I think especially with the internet, you can be searching for music, even if you already have your music for this year and your choreography for this year. You can look for down the road. As far as having lessons, you can do Zoom with your choreographer, and you can do your solo on the floor. So certainly they could, touch up things, and a great opportunity for that, because that's like really valuable and something that we don't normally have like time for, is doing your program off the ice, right? And then and you can up it. You can, if you know what your elements are, or even if you don't, you can just do standstill jumps like you're doing your solo. They've got your music playing. Most people have the capability to do that, and find a spot to go through it if your solo is already made up, and then jump, and then try to somehow create the systems, energy systems that you are going to need when you go back on the ice. It's hard without actually skating to recreate the energy systems that's needed, but just do the best you can, try to come out of it is, you know, ahead of the game. You know, how do I get ahead of the game and hit the ground running as best you can? You know, obviously this is the biggest break that by far most skaters have ever taken, and still like unknown when we'll get out of it. But how can you be ahead? How can you have your program ready? How can you have your cardio ready, your off ice, like your jumping, and there's just like so many things that can go in it. And I think that coaches can help their skaters, like they know what stage it's like. Some of them that have their programs made up, they can already be doing it off ice, and some of them are like, oh, I never got my choreography done. So that would be interesting to see a program made up off the ice. I'm sure it's possible. Jadene, you could probably do that.
I'm ready. It's weird. Just over necessity in the last 2 years, I've had skaters need choreography and I couldn't get there, or they couldn't get to me. So we've been doing Zoom choreography for a long time.
Well, you're ahead of your game, man. It's good for you.
I'm just sort of like, you know, have a problem, make a solution, make it work for the athlete.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, have I done it all off ice? No, a lot of it's been, you know, on ice and stuff like that. But I think that there is so much stuff that we can create with the skater. Because remember, the program and the art happens in the mind, right? It's all a dream. Like I always say to the skater, if you forget what I'm doing, don't worry, because I made it up. Like, it's all a dream, you know? So if we can create off ice and maybe explore different movement than you would have in your normal skating, because people get stuck in a style, right?
For sure. Yeah, it's a great time to explore. It's a great time to learn new things. And there's with the internet, oh my gosh, you can just get on YouTube and you can, like, you know, follow someone doing a Spanish something or other, or yeah, just depend on the individual and their desire to become better and their willingness to like try new things. So you know, I always like try to lead and pull people along, but you know, it's hard to push someone up a ladder if they don't want to go, if they really are not willing. It's like one of the hardest things as a coach to go, like, you have to help these people like want to do it, because if they don't, it's exhausting. And you know, pushing someone up a ladder is really tough.
I've never heard that one before, but wow.
You know what? Maybe that leads into just a next question that was on the top of the box here. And it says, Michelle, this would be a good one. This is an anonymous attendee, but it says, how would you help a skater that has not improved for a long period of time? ?
Maybe not even during this time, but like in general.
Yeah, maybe I think that's more of a general question.
Like in jumping, I guess. Like the jumps haven't improved. I think a lot of us experience that, because like people go through like different phases. Like you get a rapid improvement and then you don't, and then you're like at a standstill for a long time. And I think the more you can reach out to other coaches and say, you know what, a friend of mine had a skater who went through this, and then like a month later, all of a sudden they were doing everything. I just try to keep the hope alive. Yeah. However you have to do that with that skater, because I don't know who they are, but if they, you know, if they really like a Caitlin Osmond, or they have a dream, then you can share a story. Well, you know, Caitlin Osmond, she was injured and she made it, or like just search for, you know, different ways, whatever you have to do to keep the hope alive.
Oh, what a great answer to that. That was beautiful. Oh, wow. So, and you know, maybe I'll just update. I don't know if this is really a question that we're seeing on the street, but it's, you know, this is a really nice statement. I think it's from Heather, another good colleague of ours from here in Edmonton, and it says, one positive thing I see from this very surreal time is just exactly what is happening right now. Listening to Michelle and connections with her, being reminded that we are all in this together. I do hope that even when we are back on the ice, these types of interactions can continue once in a while. And this will truly make Canada's coaches better. Thanks for doing what you do and sharing. So, you know, Michelle, a huge shout out for you for being on today. And Heather, that was a wonderful comment. Thank you so much for that. I think this is, again, I'm a big fan of course, who better than Michelle Leigh to have on? But I think that that's a really great comment. So yeah, we're just going to keep that rolling with that. So
well, it kind of goes back to, you know, the advice for young coaches. And if I think back to when I started, the idea of team and sharing and leaning on each other's strengths was something that I learned with you. So I would imagine you still do that a lot. Do you work with a team? Like, do you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Can you speak to that a little bit?
You have to. You have to.
Yeah.
Like, you can't possibly keep track of all the rules and all the, just like, there's just so much, and you know, where to grab on a spin and how to do like whatever. I mean, I think you have so many roles as a coach, and just trying to find out what you enjoy the most, and you know, just kind of keep people supporting you in the other places where you're not as strong. I mean, you have to know so much as a coach, and it's good to know a bit about everything, but to try to find what your strength is. And if you have the opportunity, I know not everybody's like in a big club, so it's hard, but I think there's different ways to bring people in and to help, and just to help you. Even if you do coach alone, at least you can reach out and go, no, look, I'm not very good at spins, or you know, you judges don't mind getting videos of like, what would you do with this footwork, and you know, or sending videos of jumps to people to analyze and send it back. And that's like just such a nice way of doing that. I do that quite a bit with like skaters from the States. They send in jumps, and then I do a little analysis and then send it back. And then the coach is like, okay, now I get to look like, you know, an expert. And there's ways to reach out. So I think through this we'll all be a little more creative and kind of figure out how we can become better and how we can make each other better. And yeah, it's very interesting.
Absolutely. I love that idea of like, let's say I'm coaching on my own. I don't have to physically be coaching with other people in order to reach out for help, and even maybe not even have to disclose to my skater that I needed that help in that moment. I could just get some help,
Right.
come
Yeah.
back with that answer, or say I've been working on this and stretching myself to make myself a better coach for you, right? You don't have to, you know, stress about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, if you're still like building your confidence, and you're, you know, trying to, you know, be confident in front of your skater, but you don't want to, whatever, you can just like reach out. There's so many tools, and I think we have the time.
Yeah. Take a
now.
video catalog of your last 2 months of coaching and just start sharing. Yeah. Colleagues. Ben, is there another question?
Yeah, we've got some good ones here. Maybe maybe I can tie this into two, just so we can, because we're doing timing. You know, I was thinking, you know, we're not our conversation. What if things don't go? And we're getting some really good stuff here. So there's another one that says, you know, do you have any unique on ice warm up ideas? Michelle, do you want to just run with that one for now?
Tons, because like, as I said, I spy on everyone. So and I pay my students to spy on other people. You know, like if I'm at a competition somewhere, it's just funny because it happened this year. I was at a junior Grand Prix, and at our rink we had ACI, the senior competition, and I like being there for that because I can just like video so much. And you know, it's my favorite to watch practices because you can see what skaters are doing, what exercises. And you know, it's hard when you're coaching. Well, it doesn't look good if you're coaching your skater and you're videoing what all the other exercises are. So you know, I bribe my skaters for like, we need new exercise, you know, because we do all kinds of edge exercises, but just to keep challenging them and trying new things. And you know, I know from like Brian Orser, he's always like, this is the Havi exercise. And then so we're always like, okay, let's do the yuzu, and then let's do this kind of thing. So yeah, I try to keep a huge repertoire of warm-up exercises, and when we do our group classes, at least half of it is like on edge exercises, because I think that's a good thing to do in a group. Like, it's a little bit hard to have a technical lesson with the higher level kids, because they're so individual, and they be tweaking. But things that you can do in a group is like train edges, and going back and forth across the ice. Like, you do take one exercise and go across the ice, and then the next line and the next line. You can do 6 lines of repeated the same thing, and then everybody's moving, and you know, like looking around and kind of go, oh geez, that's, you know, it gets a little bit competitive when to the kids that are competitive and they want to be the best, so they look around. So I do like lots of edge exercises, and most of them are from like other coaches and other athletes, and you know, what are the Russians doing in their warm-up, so, and what is this person doing in their warm-up, and that person, and then we're just always trying to find it, so it does try not to get too repetitive, but also going back always usually to the basic edges, because it's without, you know, good forward, outside, forward, inside, back, outside, back, inside, everything's created from that. Without being good at that, it's hard to get creative, and it's hard to do all the other things that skaters are required to do. So like, did this coach want the actual exercise, or?
No,
it's
that's
excellent.
perfect.
And you know, and maybe just as we're here, because Keegan and Eileen are on, and there's Keegan answered. I'll get to yours, but because you was on last week. But maybe this will dovetail into Eileen's question too. But she says, I'd appreciate any ideas or suggestions as to how to stimulate or enhance skating skills while the athletes are off the ice. Now that's a good question. Yeah, wow, that's a really good one.
Skating squad. Oh. Well, I suppose good skating skills require good body strength and coordination. So, you know, like using the knees and the ankles and the core strength. There's like lots of great things online that you could do to strengthen the body. Actual turns and things like that. I'm not sure unless you have a slippery floor of some kind. Yeah. But I think just having like really good ankle strength and good alignment of your body, and working on good posture so that like everything's in line when you go to skate again, and you know, you take your time to get the feel of the flow of the ice again, that hopefully your body's ready, because you won't forget what if you like the feeling and your muscle memory, but it'll just make sure that you're physically ready to start doing those things again. So I don't really have, other than visualizing, you know, like looking at things online and kind of going, okay, like visualize yourself doing those edges and turns, and you know, you can go back to your own competition if you want to remember like your own footwork, and just trying to get those skating skills, and just, you know, closing your eyes and visualizing yourself doing them, or just watching like a Yuzu or some fantastic skater and just trying to visualize what they're doing, and just copying them visually, or just standing still or standing like in your bare feet and trying to do what they're doing.
I think you're right, because, you know, the feeling of this foot in the skate as you're pressing onto an inside edge, let's say, you can still stand in your shoe and press on those same points in your foot or your muscle, right? And imagine that you're using them. You know, it's not going to feel like the flow and the glide of skating 100%, but you're right. Visualizing, walking it through, these are really valuable things, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great answer to that too. And Keegan, I'll get to yours right now, because Keegan asked like actually 3 parts.
Question, Ben.
What's that here?
Keegan has like a 4-part question.
I know, it's pretty impressive. Keep it simple. But I read them, and they all kind of dovetail into one sort of theme, which is great. But here's Keegan's questions. It says, has anything changed over the years in regards to your focus of off-ice training, development and training? Was there an emphasis on certain types of off-ice training in the past that has evolved? Different parts of the body that you feel are more crucial for development that maybe was thought of in the past? So that's kind of a 3-part that kind of centers around the off-ice.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot more science, and like there's a big involvement, I would say, in off ice. Like when I started off ice, we'd like run around the rink. That was our off ice. And as you know, I skated with Brian Orser, and he became like world champion. And we had very basic, just good, like very simple off ice. But it's come so far, and you have to, because right now you have to be efficient at jumping all these amazing jumps. You have to be efficient. Your energy systems have to be so incredible. You have to be flexible. You have to be uninjured doing all of these things. So I think one of the main parts of off ice needs to be injury prevention, and just making sure that your body's in line, and that you're ramping up to do more difficult things when your body's ready, and not getting injured. So just focusing on preparation for the ice, like proper warm up, proper cool down. I I have always felt that there's no way to simulate what the cardio systems, what goes on the ice, off the ice. I just don't, I don't see it. I mean, the closest thing that comes to it is like repeated jump, 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 jump. Like if you just look at how do skaters get tired, like they're exhausted at their end of the programs. How do you create that kind of exhaustion off the ice, like hills or something? But yeah, the best for me, the best cardio still, like I insist on run throughs and doing the cardio on the ice. It's hard to replace it off the ice. But for off ice, definitely like what everybody's required to do is like getting really, really good off ice jumps so that they're more easy on the ice, they're more efficient, because you have to do so much now. Like what's going on is crazy, and you have to like do all these spins. So the more flexible you are, the less energy it takes to do these spins. And the better, tidier jumper you are, the easier it is to get through a program with like everything that you want to put in it. So it's like so many things. Off ice has to do so many things. I would say that's probably the biggest thing, is you got to touch on everything. Flexibility and strength and joints and injury prevention. And I do believe in off ice cardio. Like I think you need a good foundation, but it's hard to recreate what you do on the ice, but you can certainly, prepare yourself physically off ice to do what's on the ice. But I think off ice in general, it's so widespread now. What should be done in off ice? You need to do ballet, and you need to do, jumps, and you need to prepare your body and flexibility, and like it's a lot. So you really do need someone professional, I think, or educated in that to kind of at least guide these skaters through it. So I don't do off ice classes anymore because I wasn't educated in that part of the science, but I do know when things are working and when they're not working, because I see the results on the ice.
Oh, that's a really good litmus test of, is it working? I mean, we can pile on all these things, but it's either going to be working or it's not, right? And I think that's a huge part of coaching too, is just that like watching the results and analyzing as you go, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of skaters are like, I'm so tired from off ice, and you like sometimes I do have to ask them to tone it down off the ice, because if you're so tired from off ice that you're not getting your stuff done on the ice, then it really isn't achieving the end result that you want. I mean, you want, lots of times you have to suck it up, you're going to be better tomorrow. But as soon as like you can tell if the skater's just getting like, I can't do anything on the ice, and that's worse. So you're in great shape, but you can't do anything. You have to balance the amount of off ice and make sure that they can perform on the ice. And if they are having a bad day because they're sore, I want to just be so grateful that you're sore, because that's satisfying. You're sore because you worked your butt off. Like you gotta embrace this soreness and go, good for you. That's gonna pay off.
I love it.
Tomorrow, the next day, the next session, like depending, but there's payoff in that pain, and there's also a balance. You have to make sure they can do what they need to do on the ice.
I love it. Keegan says thanks so much in the comments, so he's
excellent.
Appreciating your answers.
Just excellent.
Keegan.
and another one's popped in. This is probably the $1 million coaches question that we're gonna throw out there. And thanks, Kathy. Yeah, that we're all going to go. It says, what are your strategies for working with parents, especially those who aren't very visible?
I missed the most important part.
What are your strategies for working with parents, especially those who aren't very visible at the rink, or those who are less involved in the sport than their child? So that's always the coach's $1 million question. I would say
strategies for parents.
Yeah.
Are there parents on this chat?
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. There probably are, but yeah.
There's one for sure that I know of.
Yeah.
Well, they're hard. There's times in my career where I want to open a school just for orphans. I think the Russians have that right. Like they don't let too much parent involvement, but it's hard to say. Like if I'm ever asked a question, I usually say like parents got to be they got to be tough. They got to expect hard work. They got to expect effort. Like, reward the effort of your kid. If they were busting their butt and they're trying everything, that is, you reward them for that, because in the end, that'll make them great, and that'll make them the skater that they can become. But as soon as you like criticize them for errors, they're going to resort to not making errors. And that just means they're just going to simplify everything. And for giving them heck for having a bad skate, that's not helpful, unless they were lazy butts and didn't try. But if they didn't try, maybe they were like too nervous to try. I mean, you really got to ask your parents to think about, you know, what it is that their involvement is like trying to be. Like, what are you trying to do here? Like, we all know they have the best of their kid in mind. Like, they think they're doing the right thing, but you're like, are you sure that you want to give your kid shit for skating bad? Because pretty soon they're not going to try anything hard. They're just going to do doubles or something easy, whatever's easy for them. And that's what you actually are doing. You're encouraging them to like take the easy way out and not make mistakes, just to avoid the bad car ride on the way home. So that didn't work. Is that what you want? But you know, if they're like, if they're not there, then I do like them to be there, and just to keep them responsible for their effort. You know, if because kids can be lazy. We can all be lazy unless we're like answering to yourself. But kids they're young and they have so much going on in their life. But I know it's hard for parents to be there. But yeah, I don't know what's harder, if they're there or if they're not there. But I know 100% of them have the interests of their kids at heart, and they're trying to do everything that they can to do, or like want to do. But I don't think you can. I'm not sure that you can just say like, I got this. Like, you had no involvement in this. Like, you were not helping at all. And if they just step back and just drop their kid off and don't even care, I don't know about that. But I think you just have to, anytime you have a conversation with a parent, going, okay, like, how do you feel you can help your kid the most? And then you look at their behavior and go, does that line up with what you actually feel that you can do it? Because like, parents have different strengths too. We have different strengths as coach, and parents are like, I don't know what to do with my kid when they only eat chocolate bars, and like, so you have to go, well, are you making them a salad? Like, you have to look at, ask the parent what they think how they want to help, and then just look at the behavior and go, is it? Yeah. Is it helping? Or are you making things worse? And, we've coached a lot of kids, all of us, been through this a million times. So we can see the big picture way easier than they can. They're so involved with their kid, and they're so in love with them, and they want only the best for them, and they're just blinded by their own behaviors. So if you can, and if it's worth it to you, then you can just like try to help them and go, okay, I know you can only see your kid, but what about this? What about that? Try this, try that. So I'm sure most of I'm 100% sure they all want the best for them, but just help them just recognize their behaviors and see if that's what they want to do.
I love it. I think what you're saying is we are a resource for them as well, but we also can't control what they do. So it's that fine balance, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for all that and just walking us through that, because I think it is the $1 million question, Ben.
Well,
it's not an easy one.
As coaches, definitely too. So anyway, yeah. So, I can't believe this hour just flew by.
What's going on?
It's unbelievable. So I really want to thank everyone here. We did have a couple more pop in, but should we just leave that for now, Jadene, and then or what should we do here with regards to that? Speed
round. Ask it and answer like first thing comes to your head.
Okay, all right. So the next one's
chocolate.
How often would you change? How often would you change an edge class, weekly or daily?
Daily.
Perfect. Okay. and this one's a little bit more let me see, probably answers a little bit more than one word, but it says, when it comes to developing young bottom skaters, what is your main focus goal?
To empower them.
Oh, beautiful. Boom. Empower. Loving it. Michelle Leigh, I can't thank you enough for this today. There's no one better again than I would want to have on for our webinar Wednesday on our first day of April 2020. And with everything that's going on right now and the whole situation, you were fantastic. You were fabulous. You were amazing. And Jadene, you want to do a wrap up here?
I'm just super grateful. I think we're gonna shift April Fools into April Focus.
Yeah.
And we listened to all those great tips that you shared, Michelle. We've been recording this, so we're gonna share it again on our YouTube, because I really want as many people to hear you as possible. And you're a very special person and coach, and we're very grateful to you for today.
Okay, thank you. Stay safe,
Thanks,
everyone.
Michelle.
Stay home.
Stay home. Stay safe.
Stay home.
All right.
Yes.
Thanks,
Okay.
Michelle.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you.